Hi everybody, Natalie Willis, the baby sleep trainer here. Are your kids back in school? My kids are sadly back in school, which means we need some tips to get back into a really good routine. Now, you know how there are things that you are just really good at? And people can know that you're just, you have really great handwriting, or you are really great at cooking, or maybe you're kind of talkative, or something like that. Well, the thing I tend to be really good at and fall into really naturally is having routines and being organized. There are plenty of things, sorry about that, that I am not great at, but one of the things I am pretty good at is figuring out, I have all of this chaos going around. How do I lock this down into routine? So I'm going to share some tips with you. I'm going to share some tips about babies and getting older siblings to school while still respecting their nap schedule. We're going to talk about some tips I use in my own family for my school-age kids, and then finally some tips for you as an adult that you can use to have a really great routine and schedule. All right, so starting with babies. This tip is mainly if your child already knows how to fall asleep on their own, and that means they're already sleep trained. So if you have a baby that's an independent sleeper, that means they tend to fall asleep independently, flat on their back in an empty crib without any sleep props, which is fantastic. But if you start to take that child out and they consistently fall asleep, say every morning during a school drop-off, you're going to experience some issues, because when you come back and expect them to fall asleep independently for their next nap or at bedtime, they're going to be like, hey, I got help earlier this morning when I dropped off my sibling to school, or say when I picked him up in the afternoon, and I don't really want to go to sleep by myself. I want to go to sleep with help, right? So that's where we really need to be creative and think about how we can either do one of two things. It's going to be highly dependent on your child's nap schedule. So first and foremost, you want to drop off your older child as early as possible. If your local school district, or school I should say, has a before care program, or maybe there's a window of time. Our school starts at 8 but the auditorium opens at 7:30. Try to get your older child to school as early as you can, because the closer you have your baby in the car to when they wake up in the morning, the less likely they are to fall asleep. Or talk to your partner. See if there are some days that person can take your older child to school, perhaps on their way to work. Or look into carpooling with some other families that you know. Anything that keeps you either in the car early, close to when they wake up, or out of the car altogether. Same thing with end of the day. If your child has the ability to take the school bus home, I would take that option so that you're not taking your older child out. Or if you have some ability to manipulate their schedule, try to end their nap just before it's time to leave to go pick up your older child. We really want to avoid those kiddos falling asleep in the car if at all possible. Again, if there's an after-school program, maybe a class that can take something like that, that will open up your schedule quite a bit. All right, so let's talk about school-age kids. This is legitimately something that we do in our family. So I, as of the time that I'm taping this video, I have a 2nd grader and I have a 6th grader. And my older child is a girl. She's a lot like me. She likes to manage her time, and she's pretty good at getting up with her alarm, and she likes to have her time and space to get ready. Fantastic. As long as I don't have to do anything, she can do whatever she wants. My little guy needs a little more hand holding. We have gotten to the point where he can get up and get himself fed and pretty much okay there. But what we really struggle with in our family is getting him dressed, because we're like, Milo, do this, Milo, do this. And sometimes he has a hard time remembering or gets distracted. He's just a little guy. So one thing that we do in our family is we have banished pajamas, unless it's a special occasion, or say like a place where we're traveling with another family and there's going to be other kids and my little guy is going to stick out for wearing something other than pajamas. We change into clean school clothes the night before. That way, when he gets up in the morning, he's ready to go. There's no changing required. He's up and all he has to do is eat his breakfast, and it takes a ton of stress out of our day. The other tip I'm going to make is making sure that you make lunches the night before, and that you're not scrambling in the morning. And I know this takes a little bit of extra time and is kind of a super duper bummer. At least I really don't love making lunches. When I get to the end of the day and my kids are home, the last thing I want to do is be making lunches. But it's really important that you get that locked down, so that you're not scrambling in the morning. I find the morning, all I want to do is get up, get myself ready, get my kids, make sure they're fed. There's always a million things to check off before you go out the door, and then get them out the door and not be having to do all these other tasks. And then finally, for me, I would say the biggest tip that I have as an adult in order to keep a routine is I use my Google Calendar, or I should say my iPhone calendar. It is my very best friend. So as soon as I know something is happening, even if it's weeks or even months in the future, that baby goes into my calendar immediately. I block out time. I have a family calendar I share with my husband and now even my daughter. So even if it's something I'm not going to be present at, if it's someone else in my family and I need to know, hey, my husband's going to be at a doctor's appointment, he's not going to be home this afternoon, or my daughter has camp that she's going to be sleeping away at for a week, all of that stuff goes in there. I also like to put things on my calendar that are important for me to do. So if I know I want to exercise and I've got time where I'm not in charge of any kids, or maybe my gym has childcare or something like that, I'm going to pre-schedule time, say from 8 to 9:30, 2 days a week, where I know I'm going to work out because it's already blocked out on my calendar. I've got reminders dinging. And then the night before, you can say, oh, what do I have going tomorrow? Oh, that's right, I'm supposed to work out tomorrow. And, oh, it looks like, so-and-so won't be home for dinner because they have an appointment or whatever it might be. But using that calendar and just having a little bit of forethought and really keeping organized can be super helpful so that you are able to stay on track with your schedule because there's so much going on once your kids are in school. Anyways, be sure to like this video. Of course, please subscribe if you have not already, and I will be back next week with more information to help your life go smoothly when it comes to your babies and your kids and your sleep. See you next